Welcome back to the Adaptive Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Hotho. On today's episode, we're joined by Emily Avery. Emily is an upper 1 point of contact adaptive athlete. Upper 1 point means that in Emily's case, she's only got one arm, and so that one arm, her right arm, she can only use that arm in the competition, meaning she does one-armed push-ups, she uses a barbell with one arm, she holds on to the rig with one arm. It is remarkable what she's able to do with only one arm. So she got into CrossFit in high school, and as you'll hear in her story, she was part of a tight-knit community at the Pitt Fitness Ranch in Michigan. And in 2021, she lost her arm in a car accident and had to relearn how to do fitness right before her senior year. We're getting into all that and those feelings of what it's like to go through trauma, and then when that support wears off, what it's like to actually deal with life as a disabled person. Through it all, you'll hear about her resiliency, her mindset, and her desire to just figure it out. And you'll hear about how she got introduced to the adaptive CrossFit community. She will get a shout out for Wodapalooza and some other great athletes that are a part of the adaptive community that took Emily under her wing. So, Emily, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Matt. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Awesome. So we're just going to start at the beginning of your CrossFit journey. We were just talking about your first CrossFit workout.
Yeah, so I started Brock Yost, the owner. He was my strength and conditioning coach at Three Rivers High School. And so when I was 14, 15, freshman, sophomore, he was like, you need to come try CrossFit. You need to come try CrossFit. So as a kid, you don't have money for that. So a couple of years, I just kind of did CrossFit, I guess, in a way on my own, and started running and just kind of like that hybrid athlete, if that makes sense, like kind of what's now termed as a hybrid athlete. And I started CrossFit in 2020, like right after the lockdown got lifted.
Okay.
And yeah, when we were just talking about it, my first ever one was dumbbell snatches and like burpees at 6 a.m. And and so, yeah, and I went way too light and I got done. And I was like, well, look at that. Like, I'm just,
This is easy.
CrossFit can't beat me down. And I got humbled really fast after that. So, but yeah, I loved it. Like, I still love it. Like, I like the way that the culture was like at the pit, like as a kid, like my best friend Blake, like we're still so close. It's actually Brock's nephew. And like we all just as kids, like going there every day after school and like staying there for like, 2-3 hours, not just like working out, but just like having community, having mentors, like going outside and playing and like, like staying out of trouble, like right at CrossFit gym, like, so it really shaped me to who I am today.
And that's what it sounded like. I've heard about the Pitt. Is it called the Pitt Fitness Ranch?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's just a place for teens. I mean, that's where the teens games was when CrossFit spun them off last year, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think that's just so cool that you had that space to go hang out at, learn some CrossFit, but you were also already had this interest in kinesiology and fitness and that kind of stuff. So you're just humming along, and then tell me about what happens in 2021.
So in 2021, I was at the time, it was the summer after my sophomore or but summer before my senior year of high school. So after my junior year. And I was in a car accident and my window was down. It was a summer day and my car lost control and it spun into the embankment and rolled, and my arm was amputated at the scene. It took like paramedics an hour to get me out from underneath my truck. I was like bleeding, and I lost most of the blood in my body. And then for whatever reason, my stubborn self came out of it, and I'm very blessed that I did. And I was able to go home a week afterwards. Like they sat there and they were like, yeah, you're probably gonna miss your beginning of your senior year of high school. And to me, like, I was like I'm a student council president. I was like ready for the school year, and I was like, just like, I was like, no way. And then I was out in a week. So
Wow.
yeah, I don't know how, I don't know why, but yeah, best case scenario and literally everything.
Yeah.
So.
And then you go right back into your start of your senior year of high school. I mean, can you give us a peek into the mindset that you had for that, if you want to? Like, what was it
Yeah.
like being a senior, being, I mean, clearly not class president, but, as student government president, now you're back, but you're missing an arm.
Yeah, it was definitely like I mean, everybody knew. So it wasn't like anything like, I hope at least. I don't think I just
Yeah,
showed up to
that's true.
school. And then one of my peers were like, oh, dang, like
Yeah.
new look for the new year. Like, um, but no, I'm from a small town of like 5 to 7,000 people.
Okay.
And like everybody just around that time, like I talked about how I did cross country. Like we all went out to like, I had just like friends that like from my cross country team, friends from powerlifting, just like peers, like people coming to my house, teachers sending me emails, like it. So for me, when anything like really traumatic happens in your life, you have these like waves of support. And at the beginning of something really traumatic happening, you have this, and like the more traumatic it is, the bigger the wave I feel. And so like when you have this really traumatic experience, you get this ginormous wave of like
Yeah.
support and love and stuff from other people. And then, after like that 3 month mark, of something really traumatic happening, it starts to die down. So going into my senior year of high school, absolutely, like, and the beginning of senior year is fun anyways. You got homecoming, you've got all these types of things. So I was just like stoked that I was very grateful to like just be like, I'm really happy that I can like actually be going to my homecoming. Or I'm happy that I can just like be at school and like with my friends and stuff. But then like also then again, like I had all that support. And I was very blessed to be able to have that. I mean, I have tons, like, my family is very much part of their church, and like with just the gym and stuff, like I was just one of those people who was very blessed to have a lot of people that love me in my life.
And I like how you describe that as waves of support, kind of falling off as waves fall off. I think we've all experienced that in some way or another when we
Mhm.
lose somebody, when someone dies, and you have that initial grief and response, and then people kind of forget, and that kind of thing. What did it, was there a moment when it kind of felt like, okay, now I have to really look out for myself, not turn inward, but just kind of like, okay, the community is not, I don't want to say moved on, but the waves have
Mhm.
died down enough that like, okay, I got to find some inner strength here.
Right. I think too, like it's also about yourself and like the noise. Like the way that I like will talk about it is like the noise. And so like of course like people aren't like even the best people and the people who are closest to you, you're right. Like they're not going to check in like 4 months down the road over one like the same like which no one's asking them to. But then like feeling like especially when you then have a disability, like having to change your entire life for that.
Hmm.
And like really just learning. I remember I was like it's probably November when it hit me, and everything was like back to normal, and like all the noise had died down, and
Yeah.
like all the like fun exciting stuff, and like I went to Beautifully Flawed retreat very in October after I lost my arm. So it was like, I don't know, three months, which
Mm.
is a retreat for women with limb difference, led by Bethany Hamilton. And so that was super awesome. But like then again, you just have more of those upper experiences. And then yeah, like hitting that kind of not like rock bottom, but just that realization of it's like, damn, it's still really hard to zip up my coat and it's not gonna get any better,
Yeah.
and like things like that. And so then shifting your mindset and being like, okay, well, you're right. Like your life is never going to be the same as it was, but who are the people around you that are going to support you and push you and help you if you need it? That's kind of, I feel like when it started changing for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I appreciate that transparency there. Just like, yeah, you hit that moment where you're like, okay, like everybody thinks this is kind of 4 months down the road, but you're still waking up every day without an arm and having to figure out how to
Mm-hmm.
do all those basic things, including something as simple as probably like holding a cup while trying to fill it up with another. I've just been this whole conversation, I've just about things that I take for granted. And I don't like my right side because of the CP sometimes, but at least I have it, right? We were talking about that
Mm-hmm.
before we started recording, and that difference of it's just not there. And so all those little changes that you have to make to account for that, I can see how that would just wear on you over time. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
at the early part of the journey,
Right.
I
Mm-hmm.
know nowadays it probably is a bit different. Um, but let's go to something that Elena Villamore told me I should ask you about, which is
Mm-hmm.
when you went to Wodapalooza for the first time. She said that that was an electric experience. She said, when you get Emily on the podcast, you've got to ask her about it. So tell me about your first time at Wodapalooza.
Yeah, that was super fun. Like if anybody's ever been to Wodapalooza, like they already know, or like just like yeah, just even been, like it's just such a fun, just like fun event. Like you're in Miami, you're in the sun, like it's just a good time in general. But for me, like that was January 2022, so that means it would have been 6 months after losing my arm.
Yeah.
And I tried my best to keep up with the girls. But like I was just, oh, I was such a runt and like a little kid, and like I just
Mm,
like looking back, but it was so much fun. It was like my opening it was my first ever competition, first of all. And it was super fun. I met a ton of people, was walking around, and that was where I met like Victor. That's where I met him for the first time, and like Shannon and Kevin and stuff like that. And I remember Victor was like he took me under his wing and like was like teaching me how to do stuff, and that was like really cool. And like it was just cool to see other people like up until this point, like especially being from a small town, and like I'd seen like maybe some friend's granddad that fought in Vietnam was like an amputee, but like
yeah. Yeah. Not the
you
same
don't really see
experience.
exactly. And then when and Beautifully Flawed was awesome for that reason as well, but even more so having people very similar to myself. And then like for me being like as young as I was, being 17 and like seeing all these people and like being like these are people with families and jobs and they're doing just fine, and like
Hmm.
you will too,
Mm,
was really good for me.
yeah. I remember when I went to the Wheelball Games in 2023 and I met a couple of the guys in my division, but specifically Dustin McCallum. He has CP like me. And it was just like, oh, he has a wife and kids. And I have a wife and kids, but I thought, oh, how does somebody with CP like really make all that work? Just because
Hmm.
it you're tired more at the time. You have this body image issue, that kind of thing. And to see that, oh no, there's another guy like me who did that too. I was like, okay, cool. Like one, what I did isn't that amazing, but two, it's like, okay, cool. There's other people who are having these experiences, right? And so I can imagine how fun it is for someone who's 17 to see, oh, there's a future, right? There's
Hmm.
there's there's a community, there's a future. These people have jobs and that kind of stuff, and they're thriving.
Yeah, that's awesome that you're able to meet Dustin and like be able to share that, because yeah, that's what we all need.
So you do Wodapalooza. Did you get this itch for competitive adaptive CrossFit at that point, or were you just kind of like, hey, I've got other things on my mind, other things I'm working towards, or
Uh, as far as like CrossFit goes, I like funny enough, like I am competitive in a sense. Um, but like the competition doesn't necessarily drive me. Like I
mm,
kind of got into competing like accidentally. Like I said, I trained like a lot because it was just like my fun, and like like I said, all my friends kind of went. And I think that's kind of what really laid that foundation, really got me like to a point to where I could compete. And I wasn't really like of course I want to win and I feel like I'm like fired up about it,
yeah,
but I never like it's not like I have this itch to want to like beat or win or be the best. Like
okay,
I just love CrossFit. I think it's fun. Like I genuinely just like love like working out and like just having a good time and throwing down with some other really fit people. Like I know that's such a lame answer, but like I just got a taste of like Wodapalooza and I was like, wow, this is so cool. And if I could go on eventually and teach other people how to do this, or spread that awareness about other people, like that's what drives me.
yeah, which I think is a really good pivot point actually, because I think sometimes I look at the people who are podium athletes, or who, as you have been twice, and I think, gosh, like they've got to be just such competitors. And that's just not true of every podium athlete, right? Like the competition is a thing, but they're also driven by something else. And I think let's talk about that thing that does drive you, which is telling people about adaptive CrossFit through the adaptive experience, and then this new journey that you're going on of interning at your gym.
Yeah, so like we had talked about the pit, um, there was a member there named Bethany, and she has spina bifida, and she used to do a spina bifida awareness fundraiser every year. And then when I lost my arm, she was like, "Well, I'm not the only one." So she made we kind of she made the like yes you can, and we co-hosted it, and it was super fun. It's basically um, just something after the community WOD on a Saturday, and we've done fundraisers for 2 years now, 3 years to go to the coaches at the pit getting their adaptive ATA
Oh,
certification.
cool.
So that's really cool too, because be able to walk in, and that's kind of what Alina's adaptive experience is like being able to go in to a gym and know that these people have, as an adaptive athlete, go in and know that that gym might have a mono rope, so I could like jump in or know that gym, and that's
Mm,
kind of what she's doing more so as well. And then I was able to, so that's Yes You Can, I think was in 2020, I think 2022, like after I graduated.
okay.
And then after that, so I stayed with the pit and we did Yes You Can with Bethany. And then a couple years later, I was talking to you about how I met Alina and she was doing like the same thing. And I was like, this is awesome. Because, like Alina's like on the other side of Michigan and I'm like
Okay.
as far west as you can get. And she's like as far east as you can get. Not as far, but like, and I was like, this is so cool. And so I went to her gym, went to her adaptive experience. She came to my Yes You Can. Like I was invited out to Omni to do the adaptive athlete experience with her.
Mm,
Unfortunately, I couldn't make it. Fortunately, my friends got engaged. So I was like, I'm going to be in the wedding party. So I was like, I can't miss that. But,
yeah.
uh, and then I'm planning adaptive experience seminars at my gym now at Cryptid CrossFit in Kalamazoo, where I work in internet. Uh, I do the programming. So our gym does proven programming,
Okay.
but like our gym, we don't have like echo. It's a smaller gym, so like no echo bikes, no ski ergs and stuff like that. So I'll have to like change that, and then I also add because our gym is very new. We have a lot of new members, so I've not only like I've started making brand new workouts basically for
Mm,
foundations. So like having more of an accessible, which is really helps my brain of like as an adaptive athlete, I feel like we're always adapting and it makes it easier for us to like understand how to scale for an able-bodied um athlete. So yeah,
totally.
that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been doing this coach development program through Best Hour of Their Day, and we
Oh
just had a
yeah.
scaling lesson, and it was scaling handstand push-ups. And I said,
Hmm.
oh, for the beginner, we'll have them do seated presses, right? And then I said, and for the intermediate, we'll have them do incline push-ups. And then, because I'm thinking about like, what they do for me. And then I was like, and then
Right.
for the injured knee athlete, we'll have them do really heavy seated presses. The person goes, where's the pike handstand push-up? And I was like, oh, right,
Oh
because
yeah.
I was like, I can't really go upside down at all in a pike even, it's just not supported. And that's something that we work on as adaptives, right? Is like, okay, how
Hmm.
do we think about the able body scaling and coaching and that kind of stuff? Because for our mindset, we don't have that mindset of the able bodied person all the time.
Right, right. Yeah, and I think another thing that's helpful too is like when I started CrossFit, I was able to get to like I got to a point where I was able, even though I was 17, I was able to do handstand push-ups and muscle ups and stuff like that. And so like knowing, even though it was felt like ages ago, knowing the
Yeah.
progression of how I got there has been really helpful for then my progression as like an adaptive athlete as well.
Okay. Are there any skills that you're working on?
I'm always working on rope climbs. I'm always working on pull-ups.
Okay.
But I have gotten like really strong recently. I've been working really hard and I've been getting a lot stronger because that was the one thing I remember showing up to Wheel in 2023 and I was like, I'm just so tiny compared to all these girls. I was like, they're so strong. And like I'm like maybe 5'6" and like I was like 140 pounds and I just was like like looking up at them. And so I was like, okay, I gotta get strong.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like that's kind of been my mindset right now is strength, but I am working on like as I said, rope climbs and pull-ups indefinitely.
Nice. And are you going to do the 2025 Open?
Yes, I am.
Awesome.
I'm
You're
very
signed up?
excited. Not I'm not signed up yet. I'm a
Okay.
procrastinator, but I
Okay.
promise I will
Fair,
get
fair,
signed
fair.
up.
Hopefully we'll see each other in Vegas. That'll be fun.
Yes, it will
Cool.
be.
So I want to talk about kind of what you're doing presently right now at college, especially with what you're studying, because I think that would be interesting for our audience to just hear about what a career is that you're looking at as an adaptive athlete. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing at college.
Right now I'm studying at Western Michigan University in preparation for occupational therapy assistant. So, my plan with that is, first of all, I would love to teach at some point one day, whether it's a higher education, like college level, or a high school teacher. So that's always in the back of my mind. But I really love the idea of occupational therapy because, I mean, that's basically what I do every day. It's what you do every day. You're just finding a way for someone who's got less than to like live in a world. Um, that is aimed towards able-bodied people, right? And that's super cool. I'm in the very intro courses, so I can't tell you a ton about it, but I'm very excited. And I do stuff like that, like, and I still think that even like scaling and like stuff in the gym, like that, and like learning how to do that stuff, it really ties into what I'm going to do eventually for a career. So,
Yeah. And that's really cool to have like that kid who shows up for occupational therapy after either being diagnosed with CP or having an accident and seeing their
mhm,
therapist look like them in some way, right? Have that
yeah,
connection. That would be a really beautiful thing. So good luck on that journey.
yeah. Thank you, thank
You're
you.
welcome. Okay, so I did have one more thing I wanted to ask you for the lightning round. You shared that during a particular workout at the 2024 games, something happened in your forearm.
Mhm.
And can you tell us a little bit about that? Only because I think it's interesting, again, for the audience to hear, like, what is it like being a one-armed athlete when something goes wrong with your arm?
Yeah, so hanging phrase, right? That's what it was. Yeah, Grace and yeah, a bunch of like hanging. It was yeah, hanging clean and jerks. And for me, that 21:15:9, 21 reps in a hang position, like it is just so hard on my forearm. And I mean, still to this day, cycling barbells is one of the hardest things, especially in a hang position. Um, is still pretty difficult for me. And I just felt like I think I was in like I might have been in my first round and like
Mm,
super early on because it was a really fast workout.
yeah.
Super early on, and I felt this pop like on the medial side of my forearm. And I guess yeah, this is audio, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's audio.
So um I felt this pop and I was like, oh shit. And it hurt. And so like I'm just like kind of like laying, like I like take a second and I breathe and I'm like, okay. Because like pull-ups still, like jumping pull-ups
Yeah.
and then the rest of all my and so I just kept pounding away, like, trying to be cautious. Like I was like, I don't think something too bad happened. Like I don't feel any tingling in my fingers. Like I don't feel any numbness. But then when I got done, I did. So I was like
Mm,
freaked out a little bit. And I went and bombed the workout and went and got it checked out and just rested a lot and got ice. And I think I just ended up slight sprain or, something like that. It
yeah.
was more scary, I think, than anything. Um, but yeah, it just, something, stuff like that happens. So
Yeah, and I think we only had two more workouts in the competition.
yeah,
I mean,
it was,
thankfully, it was only seven workouts, and six of them were sub 6 minutes.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So not a lot of, thankfully, not a lot of grip fatigue. But I think
No,
that feeling
no.
of like, what went through your head though, right? When it's like, well, I can't just favor my other side,
Mhm.
right? What do you deal with that a lot? Like when something isn't feeling right on your one side, like you're just like, well, I don't have an option.
Yeah, I mean, generally, like, and especially obviously, like now as the season is pretty chill, like if I'm having a hard day, like where my shoulder just like really feels like crappy or something like that, like you can always adjust. But like on the day of competition, you have to just kind of like cut your losses and be like, well, I can't really do anything about it. And it sucked because like I was excited for that one too. But
Hmm.
like, like I said, it is what it is. And it was okay. I knew I was gonna be fine either way too. My mom
Okay.
would feed me if I
There you
need it.
go.
Like,
There you go. That maternal love, man.
yeah.
It is powerful. All right, let's jump to a lightning round really quick, and then I've got two final questions for you. Okay. So,
Okay.
would you rather have coffee or tea?
Ooh, that's really hard, but coffee.
Coffee. Me too, man. All right, good. Are you a morning workout person or an evening workout person?
Oh, I would say if I had to choose between two, morning.
Okay.
But I'll do
Like
like a 4 p.m.
Okay.
an afternoon.
Yeah, there you go. But like, and then when we say morning, is it like 5 a.m. morning or is it like 8 a.m. morning?
It's like, yeah, it's like 6:30 at the
Yeah,
earliest.
there it is. There it is. When you work out, you prefer a large group or small group?
Large group.
Okay, more
Yeah.
energy, more vibes there.
Yeah. It's just
Uh,
fun. Yeah.
Books or TV shows?
Books.
What are you reading?
Right now I'm rereading what's it called? My Stroke of Insight. It's really cool. It's about a neuroanatomist, and she ends up having a stroke, and she can like feel herself having a stroke, and then she ends up having a full recovery afterwards.
Wow.
So yeah,
My
very cool
Stroke
book.
of Insight. Well, and we
Hmm.
were talking about another book that's particularly interesting for upper extremity athletes, or I guess amputees. Tell me about that book too.
It's called Phantoms in the Brain. It basically goes through, it talks about case studies, phantom pain, phantom sensations. So it's just like a bunch of, I think, small stories inside of it about those topics. And it's just very cool. Just how it works, all the science behind it. I won't bore you with it, but yes, very cool. I think it's very interesting.
Awesome. And one more question for the lightning round. If you were in charge of the Spotify playlist for a workout, what would you be playing? A song or an
Ooh.
artist? Yeah.
Ooh, I'd probably play some Dochi. I mean, do you listen to
Oh,
Dochi?
she's from Tampa. She's from my
Really?
hometown. Yeah.
No
Yeah.
way. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
I
been
heard.
loving some Dochi recently.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. And she won Grammy for Best New Artist. Come on now. She's
Yeah, I
good.
know.
Yeah. That's
Exactly.
great. Awesome. If you don't know who Dochi is, guys, you really do have to go listen to it. I mean, it's good stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of our final two questions. If there's someone listening to this who knows somebody who's adaptive, or maybe they're adaptive themselves but haven't gotten into the gym yet, what's the best piece of advice you'd give them?
Um, the thing that I like to talk about in any seminar, is that I think it's something crazy. Like 80% of people will be disabled at some point in their life.
Mhm.
And if you are disabled, like you kind of got a short end of the stick, and that's okay. But like you also, like I wouldn't be able to take out like the trash as well as I can if I didn't have strength in my arm. And just being able to live easier, movement is a part of that. Some of the stuff I love to see is like when people when the C division is like going over those like ramps,
Yes.
and I'm always like, that's like a curb, like right there, that's functional movement. And
Yeah.
like for me, like, you know, get like, I know it's scary, but there's people out there that are going to care about you, and people out there who are going to push you and want you to succeed. I want you to succeed, and it's just going to make your life better.
Yeah.
So find someone that's going to be that person for you.
Find someone that's going to be that person for you. I like that. I like that. And then if you could encourage a younger version of yourself, maybe a 12 or 13-year-old Emily that didn't know what was coming down the pipe, but to encourage them with what you know now, what would you tell them?
I think I would say something. I don't know. I don't think I would tell her anything. I really don't think so. I think I'd mess it up. I think that like the whole point is that you just don't know.
You just don't know.
Yeah. You just do
That's
it. Yeah,
that's
you
what
don't
it
know
is.
what you don't know. Yeah, you figure it's everything, like what my dad says, everything's figure outable. So if anything,
Mm,
and he's an engineer, by the way, so like of course he says that.
yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't tell myself anyways, anything, I would just figure it out.
Wow. That's awesome. I love that. I would not have expected that, but that's a beautiful way to think about it, is to trust yourself enough to know that like you did it once, you'd do it again, and you'd figure it out.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Well, Emily, thanks so much for being on the podcast. I'm so glad we were able to have this time together.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was
Yeah,
great
of
to talk
course.
to you.
Thanks, Emily. Thanks so much for joining us for this episode of the Adaptive Athlete Podcast. I really enjoyed listening to Emily's story, especially how she was just honest about how tough it was in those first few months after her accident. But I loved how she had community around her gym, her mentors, fellow adaptive athletes that she met along the way. If you caught that, she gave a shout out to people like Victor Ossoff, who's another upper 1 point male athlete who hopefully will get on the show pretty soon. She also talked about Wheelwad, Kevin and Shannon, and the work that they did at Wodapalooza in 2022 to help her get connected into the adaptive community. A couple of things you need to know about: we are still in the open. In fact, you have 3 more days that you can register to be a part of the 2025 CrossFit Adaptive Open. So if you want to do that, you got to do 2 things. First, you got to go to wheelwad.com and you got to get classified. You got to send them your medical information, get into a category. It may take them a little while to get you in a category. They are dealing with a bit of a backlog, but do that first. And then, and you can do it at the exact same time, go over to Competition Corner, find the Adaptive CrossFit Open and register. Doesn't matter if you don't know what category you need to be in, just pick a category to get started, and then they will get you in the right category. But do both of those things so that on Monday at 5 p.m., you can be registered for the Open and set to go for the 2025 season. Look forward to throwing down with y'all. Oh, and one more thing. We're going to do a live show Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern. So that is Monday night, March 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be going live. I'll be sending some more information out on Instagram, but I want to hear from you guys about your experiences doing 25.1. Can't wait to see how y'all do. I'm Matt Hotho. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.